And I keep on thinking of one more thing. Here's the last one. There's the movie The Passion of the Christ. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of people being in that movie and crying, and it being such a moving and touching experience to see that kind of violence inflicted on another person. And I've made this argument before. I just want to, I suppose, start a dialogue or be open about my thoughts on that. I was just listening to this history thing the other day, a guy named Dan Carlin, who does a history podcast called Hardcore History. He was talking about slavery and how there was a slave revolt, Spartacus's slave revolt in Rome, and they crucified or put on pikes approximately 6,000 people on these roads. So to think that, like, Jesus' crucifixion was somehow abnormal in the ancient world, I think is farcical. And I would go so far as to say, as far as physical torture and punishment, there have been many people in history, probably thousands, maybe tens or hundreds of thousands, who've endured much worse punishment physically than that, and endured much worse physical and emotional torture. So from that aspect, I don't buy it, and I don't buy that suffering, emotionalism. Of course, to see something like that is going to cause all sorts of emotional feelings and disgust. However, there was nothing special about it. So, I've given this argument to a guy in a forum who I used to talk to, who was a pastor. And his claim was that while Jesus was on the cross, not only did he endure the physical torture, but he endured some kind of supernatural torture of a psychological nature that's like something we can't fathom, that's, like all the evil and devil, spirit and all this stuff going into Jesus and causing some suffering beyond the physical and emotional standpoint. Now, frankly, I think that's silly myself. Why go through the whole process of this physical crucifixion if the brunt of the suffering was of a supernatural nature? Once again, this reeks to me of human stories. It reeks to me of a person making up this story, and then later on, other people having to defend the story when indictments against its divine authorship and just very basic logical and rational arguments brought up against it. We can go to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and try and bring up any kind of support that we possibly can think of, but in the end, I just, to someone who'd say this was a real story and this actually happened, I just gotta say, really? You really think that? I don't know. If after reading that Jesus Mysteries book, or reading any of these books that doubt the historicity of Jesus, and just some of these very basic arguments about the whole logic of original sin and the sacrifice, really? And my point, I think in future videos I'm going to get to this, my point that I was making is there's a better way. We can do better than this. And it's not so much that, I think that, people are allowed to, practice whatever religion they want and do whatever helps you. I'm saying, some of the things in these stories, at least from what I gather from the Eleusinian mysteries and Dionysus and some of these Egyptian gods, there may have been some deep-seated lessons to be learned that were of a much more figurative nature, on the nature of consciousness, and practical life wisdom rather than getting so obsessed with the literalism of these stories. And so I think that the real gold in Christianity is lost and obscured, and you could do better for yourself and have a better life, have a better plan for your life by adopting another set of principles. So that's where I think the travesty is, and that's why I would make a video like this. It's not so much to say, you know, I think Christians are dumb, or you know, I want to usher in the downfall of Christianity. It's, you know, everyone who I know is Christian. You know, let's take a deeper look into these things, and I think you'll be amazed at how much better things are than you can imagine taking these literal interpretations. So I don't know. That's where I'm at.